Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Can you all hear me?
Yes, Master. Yeah.
Yes. Today I'm using a small device. I happen to forget my big device, so this one is not as friendly as my big one. This meeting, I really thought it was at 10 o'clock when I normally sit on virtual meetings at 10 o'clock. Because in the morning I start with the local meetings I held here. Right. As you know, this is an urgent second meeting in the matter of Mira Trading International, Pty Ltd. Reference number of the master there is C906 of 2020. Now, last time we said in December, we postponed to today. As you know, the purpose is for proof of claims and also to get directions from creditors and members. Now, just by way of giving direction to this meeting, we'll later ask the introduction of the people that really have got, I know there's a number of appearees and participants today. I will just need the people who are here for the member or members and also the investors or the creditors. Of course, there's a number of creditors, investors, now with a list of claims that run into hundreds and could run into thousands. But I have noted for today's purpose that there is a claim which is different from others. One claim of JNX Online and not the typical investor claim. And of course, another claim submitted by Celsa law attorneys, which is just for Clinton Hugh Marks, which is just an affidavit. I understand Marx is also a member. Maybe that he will also come in at the members' meeting for purposes of directions. So, starting with the creditors' meeting, I wanted to know the then parties to introduce themselves, those who have got power of attorney for creditor JNX Online and also the investors. All right, can I hear from you?
Good morning, Master. Adv Hendrik van Staden speaking here. I am representing investors and also it's investors who are net losers in MTI, and the schedules were submitted to your office, and the total comes to...
How many investors roughly or creditors in creditor that you are representing, that you have power of attorney for?
920 in accordance with the two schedules that were submitted, Master, as well as a value of 229,802,189 Rand. And that is despite the schedule that another person, which is being disputed, that was handed to Mr. Kobus Kabord, which also has names of people who gave power of attorneys to me. It has been brought to your office attention as well as to the liquidators, but I still haven't received any feedback as to why people whose power of attorney was submitted to you and who I've got a copy of and who gave me explicit power of attorney is on the schedule of Mr. Kobus Kabord. Thank you, Master.
All right, I've noted your name and that you represent about 920 or so investors. Remember, okay, by the way, today's meeting, I know it's not like the first meeting where there's more interest from creditors and those who may be appointed as liquidators. So it becomes a rush because, but right now, I want the meeting to go quickly and smoothly because now we've got final determined liquidators, which means now there is no extra contestation from creditors and then the possible liquidators. That one is sorted, is settled, you know. We just want the matter to proceed, the administration to proceed, which of course, that also depends on the second meeting proceeding with its purpose. So I've noted Mr. Van Heerden. Who is the
Van
next?
Staden. Van Staden, Mr. Master. And then also, should there be any challenges with regards to that there was a manipulation of list for the first meeting of creditors? I will at a later stage proceed outside this meeting to ensure that justice is served. Thank you.
Yeah. Can I then hear another appearee who is also having some creditors?
Master, can you see and hear me? My name is John Sutner.
John Sutner, I can hear you.
I am an advocate at the Johannesburg Bar. I am appearing for Clinton Marks as a creditor and as a member.
Clinton Marks as a creditor and member. All right.
Thank you, Master.
All right. And then?
Master, can I just put myself on record?
Any other person with power of attorney on behalf of the creditors who are investors?
Yes, that's me, Master. My name's Henry Seltzer. I'm an attorney. I represent 106 creditors, and the power of attorneys have been filed with yourself on 8 December.
Henry Seltzer, how many creditors roughly you have?
106.
Oh. Okay. Any other
yes,
person
yes.
here for creditors by power of attorney?
You go, Chris. My name is Chris Edeling. I represent 2 creditors.
Good morning, Mr. Master. My name is Alan Newton. Myself, together with Mr. J.C. Crick, represent 17 creditors in terms of powers of attorney.
Okay, let me just, before you, I just want to know from the Mr. Edeling, since you have 2 creditors, is it also one of the investors or just another claim?
Investor creditors, Bitcoin investor creditors, sir.
Okay, who are the names of those 2 creditors?
Let me just get it for you. Sorry. I'll get it for you. It's Boerdenstein and Rue Boerdenstein.
Hello. It's okay. Let me. It's Boerdenstein.
Boerdenstein.
Can you spell Boerdenstein? Boerdenstein. Can you spell that?
So there are 2. One's name is Zandela Rue, and the other one's name is Adel Rue Boerdenstein.
Zandela Rue, and then I had Rue Boerdenstein.
Adel Rue Boerdenstein, that's one, and the other one is Zandela Rue.
Thank you.
The next appearance.
Yes, Mr. Master, sorry, it's Alan Newton. I appear together with Mr. J.C. Crick on powers of attorney. We are for 15 creditors, claims TL1 to TL15, from Rian de Jong to Teresa Gooch.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Look, okay, and then, all right. Yes.
Sorry,
so-
Mr. Master. Sorry, can I just interrupt? I just want to complete the appearances if you don't mind. My name is Sybrand Tintinger. I'm an attorney in Pretoria. I represent the joint liquidators of MTI at this meeting. They are also all part of the meeting. They all attendees on this forum. They are Deirdre Besson, Jacqueline Barnard, Christopher Roos, Herman Bester, and...
Can I get your name again properly, please? Your name again?
I do apologize. It's Sybrand Tintinger. You'll see it reflected on the screen. My surname is spelled Tintinger.
Yeah, no, I see.
And I'm acting on the instructions of the attorney's firm Strydom Rabi for the liquidators. Mr. Master, may I just also mention that the meeting is being recorded and a transcript of the meeting will be available afterwards to the parties. Mrs. Jacqueline Barnard, one of the liquidators, is recording the meeting. So I'm just placing that on record in case any interested party may require a transcript of the meeting. We will arrange for the meeting to be transcribed, the proceedings, and a record will be made available without charge to any party requesting a copy of that meeting. Mr. Master, the liquidators are here to assist the Master insofar as any issue may arise at this meeting. But given the nature of the meeting, the liquidators will take a proverbial backseat and we'll just be here in case the Master calls on us for assistance. May I, however, suggest that the proceedings be embarked on the basis that we first deal with the creditors meeting on the basis of in the sequence of the claims submitted, and then we go over to the members meeting.
Before that, of course, when I came here, we all recognize that there's a number of these claims, and of course, it will not be possible at this meeting to all, especially the investors. The only claim that really I have visibly seen and had a look properly is the claim of that JNX online, because it's one claim which is obviously clear, which is more clear than the other claims of investors, which most of them have got print out screenshots of the proof of this Bitcoin, investment. So you may need to, for those other claims of all the investors, you may need to deal with them. The liquidators may need to look at those later, investigate them in as far as under Section 45 to check, because they need to come to an agreement to say, how does one prove an interest, an investment in this kind of market? It's a new market. Bitcoin, it's a new thing. It's not been there for a number of years. Obviously, I would imagine also the liquidators would need some skills to check what you can prove. I know there are wallets, and then there are some PIN codes that a person must have to prove that he invested in that. So you need to identify and agree on a standard proof documents, besides just affidavit, to say that, okay, this is what you can accept as a proof of a claim or a proof that the person invested money. I do understand that sometimes, obviously, a person must keep a password and all that. You can't lose your password, so those kind of things. So due to impossibility at this stage, those claims of investors will have to investigate it at a later stage, but the liquidators under Section 45. And then,
Mr. Master,
And then, yeah, can I finish?
Sorry, Mr. Mark.
Yes, can I finish my
Yes,
line of
Lord.
thought?
Yes,
And
Lord.
then the purpose now that everybody would want here is that this meeting at least must come to a solution where it will allow the business of this liquidation to continue. And if it means that, like I've noted here, there is a claim that can be proved because it's clear. Let that claim be proved, and if there's a power of attorney there, then that person with that power of attorney can then vote for the normal business of today to continue. And then we go to the members' meeting, and then obviously the member, we establish that there's a member obviously voted for liquidator and all that, so we know who are the members. Then those can also vote for the business of today, so that the liquidators proceed with the work. The rest of other thousands of investors' claims, then that business, liquidators using their other Bitcoin experts, to sort of help them to settle all these claims of these investors, because obviously they also are interested in getting their money, but there must be a standard agreed document that will then make everybody happy. Of course, ideally this must be clear. Some of them are not clear. You just see, you can see numbers, it's lots of photocopy and stuff like that. So that is my take on this as a way forward, because I don't want us to spend too long on this when we know that today we can't look at all those things. So I wanted for this creditors meeting, I noted the NX online, and of course there is another one submitted by Selfsna Law, which is a claim of Max, who is also a member. Of course, which claim of Max I could not really accept in its form, as this is just an affidavit, but maybe as a member, Max, that is, it could be another business. So can I get the person who, can I get Mr. This is a power of attorney here for Mr. Adv Hendrik van Staden. I did not, is he here? Can you hear me? Is Mr. Staden here?
Mr. Master, can I just say that there is an open mic of one Honorine Swanepoel, which is disturbing the proceedings. If she can just mute herself, and can I just, if you don't mind, implore on everyone who's part of the meeting who is not participating actively at the moment to mute their recordings. I'm just getting a message from my group that Honorine Swanepoel's interference is disturbing the record at the moment.
Yeah, please, Honorine, I see now is muted. All right. Can I get, where is Mr. Adv Hendrik van Staden? This small device, okay, Mr. Staden, I see you now. This small device is really, and I must swipe to see you. Now, can I hear from you regarding the claim of JNX Online? I looked into that. I did not have a problem with that claim of JNX Online. Mr. Asabo, you are muted. Can you unmute yourself? Can you unmute yourself? You are muted.
Sound is not working.
Mr. Scarborough? Can you unmute yourself? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Mr. Master.
Okay, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? There seems to be a problem here.
Just try and unmute.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, can I make a suggestion? This is Edeling. Mr. Scarborough and I are in the same office. I'm going to move away from my computer, let him come and sit where I am, and then you will see and hear him. Sit in the office.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry, my computer is on and my mic is on. I don't know what is wrong with my computer, but I am here on the claim of JNX Online. Mr. Chairman, it's not a Bitcoin claim or an investor claim. It's a simple claim for monies lent and advanced. The account is attached there to the proof of the money is supported by the ledgers and the account attached thereto, and I submit that there is no reason why the claim cannot be proved.
All right. Noted. As I said, I had a look at the claim. So that claim will be accepted of JNX Online.
Mr. Master, I think Van Staden, yeah?
Mr. Van Staden,
yes, I cannot accept that all the claims are unlegible, as that over 550 of my claims were submitted on the same document that was provided by the liquidators and in with amounts that was agreed upon and was also advised by themselves. So I cannot understand that 520 of these claims can just be rejected and that all of them are unlegible.
There are no claims rejected as in the matter of principle. It's just a matter of possibility. There are no claims rejected. It's just a matter of saying, for purposes of this meeting and progress, to avoid many postponements, is to say all these investor claims. Of course, others, as I said, I've looked at the case, they are really, some of the copies are not clear. But of course, doesn't mean that the liquidators, when they examine all claims, they will not accept if they feel, okay, even if it's illegible, but will accept it. So this was just for the progress of the meeting, so that this process goes further. I mean, we all know this matter is a unique matter. You know,
I agree, Mr. Master. However, I would like to bring to your attention the purposes that it was rejected at the first meeting was only for purposes of voting, and there was actually sufficient time for inspection of the claims, and it will actually prejudice the investors if they are not allowed to vote on any resolution that was tabled for this meeting of today.
No, that is why I'm providing this direction here, that if there's a claim proved, then obviously I would imagine that the further business of Mr. Scarborough would be to move forward and say, now that I was going to ask it, now that this claim is accepted, what is his further business for today's meeting? Because as you know, it's a two-pronged meeting to prove claims and of course get direction from those with proven claims. That's the purpose of this meeting. Before I go to the members.
Mr. Master.
Let's start with Mr. Chris Edeling.
Thank you. Master, may I respond to what Mr. van Staden has said?
Yeah. Yes.
Mr. van Staden's claims are all bad, not only because they are Bitcoin claims, but because their cause of action says money is deposited. He has not a single claim which is otherwise than monies deposited, and none of them, legible or not, have any proof of any money being deposited. They missed the boat. Never mind what the provisional liquidators at the time thought the claim should be. A claim for monies deposited is bad, because that's not what any of the investors did. So I submit that the master should stand by his ruling, and in fact, for this record to be clear, you've already accepted the JNX claim. You will now hear Mr. Satner about Mr. Marx's claim. All the other claims are investor claims, which I submit should be rejected for reasons not only what the master has already placed on record, but because of bad causes of action. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Satner?
Thank you, Mr. Master. Mr. Master, there are 3 points I want to make. One is that the Clinton Marx claim is a claim for the return of the value of Bitcoin that was sold. It's not an investor claim, it's a creditor claim, pure and simple. That's the first point I want to make. The second is that I want to prove it so that I can have a say on behalf of Marx in what directions are given to the liquidators. The third point I want to make is one which I make without disrespect to my learned friend, Mr. Edling, and that is, at this meeting, any claims that are proved are, so to speak, proved simultaneously, as opposed to any claims which theoretically could have been proved at the first meeting. That being the case, nobody who had not proved before today has a right in terms of the Act to object to anybody else's claim. The only person who can take a position on claims that we attempt to prove is you, Mr. Master. My submission to you is that Marx's claim is a clear liquidated claim, and I'm going to ask you to admit it to proof.
No. What I have with me is just an affidavit.
Yes, that's what the Act calls for.
No. I need something more than that. I mean,
well, then, Mr. Master, you must reject the claim. Then you must reject it.
That's what. No. Of course, that's why it's rejected. Which is why I was.
So you have rejected Marx's claim.
Marx's claim, yes, yeah, and accepted the claim of JNX online.
Master, may I respectfully submit that you then record as a part of the meeting the JNX claim admitted, the Marx claim rejected, and all other claims are rejected.
Yeah, look, I think that I must qualify this rejection. It's really the rejection of these claims. Obviously, it's not. It's really purely out of the legibility of the copies, really, and also really absence of one accepted proof, kind of. It's basically pure on that. I would say, as you know, any rejected claims, it's not like it's over, it's final, it's done. No, it's just purely these ones out of legibility. And I'm really will ask the liquidators that these claims of these investors, which are just rejected purely for their eligibility, must really be looked at. And I will be happy if we come to a solution where we say all these claims, this is the standard proof that must be found. This is the standard proof for all of them. That to accept all of them, this is what we will agree that must be there. No claim must just be, the liquidators must really treat them greatest circumspection. And for me today, I wanted today's meeting to proceed its business so that the liquidators can go ahead and do their work without having certain claims to be rejected without openly investigating all of them equally. I don't want them, hence we have 5 of them, 5 liquidators there. And I want them to approach this with an open mind. You know, Mr. Federling, your hand is up.
Thank you, Master. To support the approach that you've taken, can I just point out the meeting that the draft resolutions which the liquidators attached to their second meeting report, it's in suggested resolution number 13, that the liquidators will investigate based on the back office database and any claims which have been submitted which agree with the amounts as determined in terms of the books and records will be admitted, whether in terms of section 78 or otherwise. And Master, I get the impression that is exactly what you wanted. This is not a suitable meeting to debate hundreds of claims. Thank you, Master.
Yes, obviously, Mr. Van Staden is obviously, yes, within his right to protect his, creditors. Of course, if there are challenges, obviously every party can come forward and write to us if there are any dissatisfactions. But like I said, this rejection is purely on the fact that these claims are not properly, not legible properly.
It's nonsense.
But liquidators, 5 of them, we really have 5 liquidators in a matter. They have a lot of work on their hands, which they must, this matter will determine really whether the current liquidators are up to it. Really, I expect them to take this matter as a highlight of their careers. To say, this is the matter I don't want to make bad judgment calls on. This is a matter that we want to treat with all the respect it deserves. People lost money. Money is here. We know the story of it's already news about the former director's office, of this company. People lost money.
Thank you, Mr. Master. May I just say something? May I just say something in response to that? Insofar.
Let me finish. The liquidators in this matter have to all work together. If there are challenges about their investigations, in fact, like I said, I really would want, in due course, maybe from liquidators also to say what is their approach on the matter, what they will be looking at in investigating the claims further, what will be the acceptable documents, not being too strict on this. But at the same time, whoever invested money there must be known that invested money, and of course, other things about, you invested money. Yes, the amount of the claim may be just a challenge. Did you invest the money? Did you get paid back? Did you withdraw some money? I don't know. People can withdraw money on that is my point. It's basically to appeal to all the liquidators to treat this with respect, this matter. I see it's an emotional matter. If it were to be with us, or 3 years or 2 years, to look at each claim and then have this meeting go on and on and on and on and on. And that is what I'm trying to avoid, that it keeps going on for months without moving forward. When I have 5 liquidators we've been entrusted with this matter, who also have powers to use various experts in the field.
Yes, come from it. Yeah.
Yeah, please. Yeah, who have got powers to engage various experts in this field. If obviously some of them, liquidators, are not Bitcoin challenged or cryptocurrency challenged, of course they've got the powers to, which is part of this meeting, is to allow them also to get those powers to get that particular expertise. So that will help them. I mean, the Zondo Commission did this. The Zondo Commission. They had to hire a company from UK, I think, to help them to see how the Guptas moved funds around, in the light of the fact that the Guptas could not be here to speak for themselves. So they had to hire someone to follow the trail, you know, to try to help him come to some idea of how much was circulating during the state capture, the funds, so that he can come to his conclusion in their absence, even because they didn't want to be part. That's just an example. So I expect this matter to move smoothly. So we are still on this Creditors. Yeah, I see
Mr. Master.
Yeah, Mr. Van Staden. Yes.
Yes, thank you very much for that, Mr. Master. And I understand the predicament. I just want to put it on record that I am not satisfied with the fact that its claims have been rejected, but for purposes of proceeding, I understand your decision. However, I also like to put it on record and remind the liquidators that they are there to work in the best interest of the investors and or creditors, and they must be transparent at all times, and to engage and to give the necessary information through to the creditors. And I hereby reaffirm that I will be communicating with them in the best interest of the net losers in MTI, and to ensure that everything is done above board and that the interests and the rights of the net losers are respected, and indeed that justice can prevail. So for that purpose, I understand it, Mr. Master, and I will be communicating with your office should there be any challenges with regards to any of the liquidators or any untoward things happening. You remember the visit by the Deputy Minister to your office. She did raise her concerns. It's also known to the DG and the Deputy DG, which we communicated to. So let's work in the best interest and clean up the liquidation process in South Africa and ensure that liquidators are held responsible for all decisions. Thank you, Mr. Master.
Mr. Master.
Mr. Van Staden. Mr. Satna, yes?
Mr. Master,
Yes.
you rejected Clinton Marx's claim, and when you rejected the other claims, you said you did so because they were illegible. What is the reason for rejecting Clinton Marx's claim?
No, like I said, it's not substantiated basically. It must be substantiated as well. They have some meat to it, document to it, obviously. I mean, otherwise all people will just come with affidavits.
Which is what the Act provides, but you've rejected it. If that's the reason is that it's inadequate in support.
Okay, let's say you also, someone is owed by a company, and then someone just comes and say, look, this company owed me 3 billion. This is my affidavit. That's it.
Yes.
The Act says, and the affidavit is enough. So it can't be. Remember also, people lost money as much as people lost money. But also the directors and all those people have got also interest in the matter in terms of the residual, what that is left as well. So it's not just a free for all that you can just come up with some affidavit and
yeah.
You know, I mean, there must be something. I mean,
yes.
It's common knowledge. I mean, it's common sense that when you talk money, you can't just, there must be something, I mean, to prove that. All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, about this thing. But like I said, Mr. Van Staden, I can emphasize that the liquidators in this matter are expected to work together for one purpose only, to make sure that all the creditors, of course, get obviously what is due to them. Those who have something due to them must you know. So this is also, for most of them, a highlight in their careers. This matter is not a small matter, so it can be a make or break for them as well, the liquidators in this matter. So I will appeal to them to treat everybody equally and really work together in this matter. In fact, I was going to ask them as well that even writing to us, the master, they need to agree as well that when they write to us, they must maybe agree that, okay, we are all listeners here, but let's agree that for correspondence with the master, this is the liquidator will correspond with the master, but of course, but not that you then, this liquidator writes a letter, and this one writes a letter, and that one writes a letter. Now we've got 25 letters from the same liquidators. We must respond to this one, to this one. They must work as a unit and sit down and agree that, okay, guys, let's agree who can amongst us be the door between us and the master. But of course, working together, because from the 5 of them, all of them should know what the other is doing. So they must consult, they must know what is happening. Everyone, all of them must know what the other is doing. But obviously, yeah. Anyway, that is the first meeting. Now I see, now that the claim of JNX online is submitted, Mr. Scarborough, what is your further business about this claim? What is your further business about this claim? Your claim has been proved. What is your further business?
Sorry, I will just move. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm here on this computer that actually records me and I can talk. Yes, I will vote for the adoption of the resolutions as tabled by the liquidators. Did you hear me, Mr. Master?
Yes, I heard you, Mr. Scarborough, for creditor. That will be creditor number 1. That will be the creditor number 1. JNX online will be creditor number 1.
Yes. And as I stated, I vote for the adoption of the resolutions as tabled by the liquidators.
It's the only proved claim.
All right. Who's got an echo there? The volume is too high. I hear myself speaking. Yeah. Thank you. All right. Who's got an echo there?
Mr. Chairman, I'm the only proved creditor.
Yeah,
I am
I'm
the
talking about
only.
your computer. Can you slow down your volume a bit? You can lower down your volume. All right. No. Then that will be. I take it that this will be it in as far as that part. Then to the members' meeting. Then go to the members' meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm here on behalf of the trustees of the 50% member, Mr. Steinberg. I was also in at the first meeting on behalf of the trustees of Steinberg's estate.
Mr.
Yes.
Master, I appear for Clinton Marks, who's the other 50% shareholder.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, you will recall at the first meeting,
Yes.
Specific instruction from the trustees for this meeting for tomorrow, for this morning, that we should, as far as members has a say, adopt the resolutions as well.
Okay, but okay, I'm trying to get. So, Mr. Sadner, for Clinton Marks, vote for resolution.
Mr. Master, you saw that Clinton Marks has submitted resolutions that he wants passed. We don't support the proposition that you should pass the liquidators resolutions. We've submitted to you on 2 occasions the resolutions that we want passed. So it appears that you have a deadlock here.
I agree with Mr. Master. I think there's a deadlock because I don't have any instruction to vote for the resolutions as tabled by Mr. Marks.
All right. Well, then we can. All right. Then we will then obviously leave it there. That okay, there were no resolutions adopted by the members. No resolutions adopted by members. Then obviously the liquidators is fine. They will follow the law. What the law says in these kind of situations. You know, so to move the matter forward, they will see what the law says to move the matter forward. All right. So that is it about the members meeting. Let me just take Mr. Erling. Look, you said again you are for another member, ne? Mr. Erling. I
think you are referring to me, Mr. Chairman. I'm here on Mr. Edling's laptop because mine doesn't seem to work. I'm for the 50% member being the trustees of Mr. Steinberg.
Edling represented Marks, but the man for this meeting.
Now, for the members' meeting, obviously, he has nothing to say. Yeah? I mean, he has no. You're sure there's no mandate for the members' meeting, Mr. Edeling.
Sorry, sir, I don't anymore have locus standi to appear at the members' meeting. I had locus standi.
All right. The only person for the members was Mr. Sadner.
Mr. Sadner,
all right.
Sadner, Mr. Scarborough. Yes, sir.
Mr. Scarborough, yeah, I think you are the person I'm looking for.
You don't want to
Mr.
listen to
Scarborough,
this, eh? Olivia,
Mr.
do me a favor
Scarborough,
on the floor next to my bed at the bottom of this earphones. I want you to just bring it to me.
Mr. Scarborough, just give me again the member that you are representing.
The trustees of the insolvent estate of Mr. Steinberg, which is the other 50% member.
Thanks.
Give me the name of that. Johann Steinberg, huh?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that is the meeting today. That is the second meeting of members, except that I obviously did get a letter from one of the liquidators, but obviously that will be something else on the side. Any other business?
No business further, Mr.
All right, what do you do, can we then, what do we do with this meeting? Do we close the meeting?
Mr. Master, may I, on behalf of the liquidators, request that the meeting be closed, so that the liquidators can move on with the administration of the estate.
Let me see who's speaking there, but this small device is,
It's,
I have to.
it's the attorney. It's the attorney.
Marco, excuse me, Master. I'm sorry to interrupt like this, but we represent approximately about 12,000 investors, and I work only with net equity investors. And one of the major problems that we find as investors is that the form of communication that we get, or the communication that we're getting from the liquidators, is null and void. You earlier in your discussion, Master, said very clearly that these liquidators need to set a threshold for a burden of proof for this information. Now, I've been involved in this liquidation from December of 2020, and I instituted and I'd walked with the investors all the way through on this. And I really want to make a point here. The liquidators are being obnoxious, difficult, and are just rejecting the attitude that they are taking to the individual investors. This thing is all over the world. 60% of the money came from South Africa. The other 40% came internationally into this investment. And the liquidators are sitting with Vivian, with a person who has access to the back end at the close down of this thing. So they can quite easily prove and reconstruct who had invested these Bitcoin. To reject thousands of claims on the basis of a technicality from the liquidators where they didn't communicate that technicality to the individual investors is obnoxious and extremely, extremely bad. I find this very, very obnoxious. I am going to publish this meeting across the world and tell the people how the investors are being treated by these liquidators. I move that these liquidators are incapable of doing their work. They've been here for a year. They're sitting with all the back-end records, and they haven't set a level of burden of proof. They just reject the claims. I feel that this thing needs to be moved to another level. And Master, I feel your frustration. I understand your frustration. You cannot deal with 240,000 investors. That's the number of people we are talking about. In this week alone, 29,000 of these investors communicated with me. 29,000. I know that Adv Van Staden has on record more than 8,000 claims already, which have been submitted in documentation to him, but we have no threshold of burden of proof. I challenge these liquidators to tell us how they are going to do this. They are sitting with the back end. They know what was deposited. They are doing nothing to prove these claims. And that it is disgusting that we get 1 year later and they haven't actually tabled one single claim from one investor that has been proven. That is totally and completely unacceptable. I shirk to think about this. This is ridiculous. Okay, I've said my piece. I'm really sorry about this, and I feel completely frustrated. Hendrik van Staden has been working day and night to get this resolved. And now some liquidator comes on here, a lawyer comes on here, and I know that we've been communicating with his office. We have sent them numerous letters. They have not responded to one. It is ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. Master, how can these people at this stage, 1 year later, not put one claim of one person on the table and say, we've proven this? How is that possible with the amount of money that they are taking out of this? I really do move. Master, these liquidators need to be taken off this job, and that competent team of people need to be put on to get this thing resolved for the investors. This is not going anywhere at the moment. Sorry, Master. Do you want any more questions for me, Master? Do you have any questions for me?
No. I'm sure they've heard you. Of course, the business of the day, the meeting, of course, there will be still special meetings. That this is not the end of, this is not the last meeting to approve claims. There will be special meetings, and for that, there may be lots of them to try and prove each and every claim. So the second meeting is not the end. It's just to allow the liquidators, of course, to get directions from the group creditors so that they can also do their work further. But there will be a lot of special meetings to prove all those claims. And then apply to...
Master, can I just ask, can I just make one question? Master, can I just ask one thing, sir? Just one thing that I'd like to ask. That the liquidators or whoever is involved in this put together a panel which sets the level of the burden of proof and the requirement for that level of what the burden of proof is to prove this. I absolutely agree with you that the documentation has to be correct, and it has to be in line with what was on record at the time that the actual system was set down. The liquidators are in possession of this shutdown when this whole thing was shut down. So they can actually look at the computer and say, that person had so many Bitcoin at the time that this liquidation took place. He had so much in thing. All the rest of the records that the people have is through their bank accounts. All of that is provable. But they've done nothing to actually set the threshold, to say this is the threshold, and please prepare your claims like this and submit them like this. But it's all nebulous. There's no answer. There's no leadership.
Yeah, no, I've noted that. They will obviously, if that would help the threshold of how the proving, the judgment should look like, which I've asked from them as well to also share that with us as the master. But don't worry, this meeting is not, it was just this two-part meeting to prove and get directions. But there will be special meetings. Like I say, there will be special meetings. And special meetings can be any number. As long as claims come, they will do special meetings. That will have to prove all those claims. But at least this meeting, don't think that at this second meeting, claims that have been rejected is the end. No, it's not the end. It's not the end. There will be lots of special meetings purely to prove those claims. Purely to prove those claims, those special claims.
Thank you, Master.
But this meeting, they will be getting more powers and of course, and the directions to also engage experts, because I understand some of them may be challenged with this because it's a new thing. The Bitcoin is a new thing. It's a few years ago. So I'll give them that benefit of the doubt. But of course, you're right. I mean, I expect them, and we as the master expect them to do their work diligently. They have got fiduciary responsibilities, and they know that it has got serious repercussions for them. I'm sure they've heard you. I'm sure they wouldn't want your complaints, and I'm sure they wouldn't want to see themselves trending on social media in the world, and because of this matter. Because, like I said, this is a matter that is to them. Earlier, I said my address. That is a highlight of their careers. It's a matter they should use to tell their grandkids that I once handled this matter, and I happily finalized the matter. All investors were happy, most of them, and we handled it. It's a flagship in my career. So that is how they should treat this matter. Hence, I said, obviously, you talk about leadership. Of course, I did allude to the fact that amongst the 5 of them, they will, of course, they should obviously have their own leader amongst the 5 of them who will liaise with the master. You don't want everybody to be a leader. There must be a leader that they amongst themselves, and they will task themselves. They know their strengths to say, okay, you are good at that, do that. Talk to the investors. You have got good human relations. Talk to them. I'm an IT person. I'll talk to that IT guy. They must set themselves roles. Because the last thing I want in this matter, or want in this matter as the master, is to get 240,000 complaints. That is the last thing we want, because it will mean then the matter will go for years without being settled. And of course, that is also not in the interest of the liquidators, because also it will mean that any complaints will also delay their remuneration in this matter, because remunerations also depend on them doing the proper work and happily settling matters of the creditors, so that also they can get to enjoy remuneration in the matter. Otherwise, if they allow 240,000 complaints from the investors, then it will also be not in their interest. And,
Master, I really appreciate the fact that you are standing up for the investors. And your voice today gives me hope that the investors will actually be treated with respect and the proper attitude from these liquidators. I have not seen that. Hendrik van Staden, Advocate Hendrik van Staden, has been doing his utmost to get a threshold of what is acceptable. Today, at this meeting, after months of documentation, we hear that the threshold wasn't correct because some lawyer has decided that money is incorrect. But that's not been communicated. I have not heard this in all the time that I was involved in this. That is ridiculous. Master, ridiculous.
No, don't worry. Those lawyers are not bigger than the liquidators. The liquidators are the ones in this matter who really matter. I have not appointed lawyers. We have not appointed lawyers. We've appointed liquidators who've got duties as well. So if they have a lawyer, they are the ones who will instruct a lawyer that we appointed you, we employ you, you are the lawyer, we employ you, we are working on instructions of the master as appointed, and for all the creditors, for you, lawyer, whoever the lawyer is, he or she will have to follow the instructions of the liquidators who have fiduciary responsibilities. So otherwise, fortunately, they are here, and I can see, fortunately, they have not interrupted you to try to defend themselves. They hear you well. That may be a good sign that they will listen to the creditors, because they are listening here, not trying to raise hands to try to challenge you or try to clear their names, which obviously I commend them for that. Obviously, I know people, when someone says something, they obviously, naturally a person wants to defend himself or herself. So fortunately today they have been quiet, listening attentively to you, and I've also not allowed them to respond, otherwise we'll take the whole day here. Yeah, no, thank you very much. That is the second meeting.
Mr. Master, sorry, can I just say this on behalf of the liquidators?
Okay.
It's Tintinger speaking on behalf of the liquidators. Mr. Master, you're quite correct that the liquidators did not interrupt that Mr. Chris. Unfortunately, I don't have his surname, and he did not identify himself for the record. But I can tell you this, Mr. Master, all correspondence that was received from Hendrik van Staden's attorneys have very diligently been responded to by the liquidators. Those correspondence were also responsibly filed by the liquidators on the master's file, and Mr. van Staden was invited to engage the liquidators on behalf of his clients.
Yeah.
That invitation, Mr. Mabusela, extends to every single creditor, including this Mr. Chris. He's invited again. The attorney acting for the liquidators on a day-to-day basis, Susan Stradom, she's part of this platform. The invitation for the liquidator, on behalf of the liquidators, for investors to engage them still stands. It is necessary, however, Mr. Master, that if a person purports to act on behalf of a group of investors, that person provides the liquidators with his power of attorney to act for groups of people. The reason for this, unfortunately, we've seen it, is that certain winners are also part of groups of losers, and they have their own agendas. And all we've asked on behalf of the liquidators is, tell us who you act for, give us your power of attorneys, and tell us that these guys are all in a particular group. Be it winners, be it losers, as long as there aren't conflicting interests in those groups, the liquidators will assist every single creditor. That invitation still stands. Mr. Chris is more than welcome to engage Susan Stradom. We can send her an email today still. I am not aware, and I'm very intimately involved in many of the issues relating to the administration of the estate and the interaction with the creditors. I'm not aware of correspondence not being responded to of concerned creditors. We have invited them all along to speak to the liquidators. It is also not correct that there is some mistake surrounding the treatment of claims. The liquidators have made it clear that they have taken legal advice on the format of the claims. They've received the legal advice. They intend to approach court for directions on how to deal with these claims. Mr. Chris must understand that this is a novel estate. It deals with a currency not encountered before in this country, where claims are lodged in Bitcoin. Some creditors even allege that the Bitcoin still belong to them and were simply deposited into a club. There are many complex issues that the liquidators have to attend to and formulate the claims for properly, and they've done so. They've taken advice of 2 senior counsel, and there is an advice on one formulation of a claim which will be disseminated to the creditors very shortly. So yes, it is a complex estate, Mr. Chris must please understand it. There is a perception of non-communication, then I would want to immediately avoid it, and I would want to tell to Mr. Chris, you're welcome to communicate with Susan Stradom on behalf of the liquidators. She will immediately address your issues, and she will tell you what the way is. The liquidators have also decided, Mr. Master, yesterday that they will issue a new press release next week. And whoever is part of this discussion can even send their emails on the group, on the text, and we'll send that press release to them immediately. And Mr. Chris can put his particulars on this group in the chat history below, or any of the other creditors who are voicing their concerns on this forum, and Mrs. Stradom will engage those creditors. It's an open door policy on behalf of the liquidators. They have absolutely nothing to hide. They're here to look after the interests of the real losers, creditors in this estate, and they will do so, and they will discharge their duties transparently, and they will keep on reporting to the master and to the creditor.
Can I just add, yeah, my name is Kriel, and I represent the company GetaQuid. The GetaQuid website is mine, and I'm fully, I think the easiest way to do this is we represent a large group of investors who, and international investors. They need one place to come to, and you can't deal with 1,000 voices. So we try to collect thousands of voices and simple that down and communicate with you. And that's the problem that we all have. And we can prove, I don't want powers of attorney. All I want is that the legal team that we have appointed, like Advocate Hendrik van Staden, will feed back to us what we need to feed back to everybody out there. We are not against the liquidators. They are the people who are going to represent our claims. But we are absolutely frustrated because everybody has a different thing. There's no level of a simple burden of proof, and we know you are sitting with all the records. So please, I'm not being disrespectful. I'm trying to move this thing forward in the interest of the investors. I'm not being difficult. I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm just trying to voice the frustration as an investor. So please, my name is Kriel. You can contact me through the GetaQuid website, and Advocate Hendrik van Staden is a person that I'm working very closely with, and he knows the frustrations that these investors have got.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Mr. Kriel. Okay, thank you, everybody. Look, of course, like Mr. Kitchen just said, it will help you, obviously, to have someone that represents you. Maybe it may well be that you may have to use that attorney or advocate who will then speak on your behalf and on behalf of all the other investors who want information from the liquidators, and so that also they deal with that one, professional person to avoid, like he said, sometimes people represent people and then those people come back and say, we don't know that person. Who is that person? Who is that Mr. Kriel? Who is that? So that's an example. So try to have someone representing you legally, some advocate or attorney to just help you. It will, I think, that is preferable in this in the context of this matter, which has got a number of people. So it will help if you've got a legal representative, like the liquidators have now their own attorney. But of course, we don't expect liquidators to now abandon their work and leave it to the attorney. They are liquidators. They must still be in charge of the work of this estate and not leave it to the lawyer. The lawyer must focus really on legal issues and not on pure administration issues of this estate. Just some legal technical issues that the lawyer should help them in. They should rather, as liquidators, have their own leader amongst them as a way of his administration.
Excuse me, Master.
Okay, I don't want to prolong this meeting. Really, otherwise we'll be here the whole day. I think let's leave it here with due respect and say we've heard everybody and everybody has listened. And if there are complaints going forward or some issues, people can always write to the master and whatever. If there are certain issues, obviously through a representative, if possible. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Master, excuse me, Master. I don't think I would like to just mention something. Thank you for having this meeting. I am Henry Honiball. I was the third respondent in the claim. We represent about 18,000 members, and we just want to say that the confidence amongst the members against the liquidators are not good at all. I want to hook on with what Mr. Chris Kriel said, and his concern. Our legal team, there's a couple of legal teams that are representing large groups of people, and we were in the process prior to the court case in September in helping Hendrik van Staden get the powers of attorneys and the claims in that came to about 4,000, if I can remember correctly. The main problem that we have in submitting claims, and you will hear that all over again, it was texted in the side box on the side. We cannot do proper claims seeing that we do not have the back office. The back office that was made available on the liquidators back office was being tampered with. I worked with data verification and data implementation in corporate for many years. So I do understand the moment that the front page of a website was changed, where new login details needed to be added, anything else inside the database could have been tampered with. That's why we are now, because of what the liquidators are driving the narrative, are supporting the winners, but we have lots of net losers in our team as well. So for people to be able to put in a claim which is legible, as you mentioned earlier, it's important that we get the correct and accurate data for those claims. Even though we might have 3 months after this meeting to submit those claims, it's going to drag on, as you said, and you don't want that to drag on any further. We have people that are devastated out there, and the creditors need to know that they work for us, and we don't want specific liquidators saying that they are going to represent us as the members, because we have not employed them as representatives of the creditors. Thank you very much for that. And once again, I'm Henry Honiball. I'm the third respondent in the application against the Ponzi scheme, which at this point in time is what's driven by the liquidators on all the social media platforms. And as one of the gentlemen just said, that they will release a media statement. Up until now, the media statement is all from the liquidators' point of view and not our point of view. The reason why our people are behaving themselves and they're not jumping in on this call is we have a very good control in communication with our members, and they behave, but they are frustrated. So thank you very much for that moment. I appreciate that.
All right, that will be the last speaker on this matter. I've heard you, and I'm sure they've heard you. Like I said earlier, I'm sure they realize that this is a unique matter, and that they are facing investors who have a voice, who can speak for themselves. And I'm sure, like I said, they would not want to have this matter go for 20 years. They've had, and if they are wise, they will know what they do. They've heard you. Let's hope that, obviously, like I said, through your representative, I would imagine you'll assist them as well, to say your views on how some matters can be solved. Of course, they have a final say. They will have a final say after hearing all parties in as far as this threshold and all winners and losers and all that. They will obviously have a final say, but it's important that they will have open mind in this matter. And like I said, also, they also have got a stake in this. They wouldn't want this matter to drag for years. Otherwise, they will not be paid, because they are being paid also depends on the matter going smoothly and on time. Otherwise, if it drags, there are many complaints, then it means they will also be paid after a long time. So let's give them time. Like I said earlier as well, it's a new area. It's a complicated matter, emotional matter. Let's give them time, assist them as well, using your representatives that they can liaise with easily than facing different thousands of people. Yeah, so like I said, in closing, after the second meeting, there will be special meetings which will be convened from time to time to prove the claims as they come. And sometimes the liquidators will also accept some claims after investigating, using resolutions, accept some of the claims, without being there special meetings, but of course there'll be special meetings to prove the claims. So this is not the end of meetings to prove claims. So allow this process to take its course. And if there are issues, the people know the master. If there are genuine complaints and issues as the time goes on, but allow them to do their work, but they must also listen to the stakeholders in this matter, the people that led to their appointment, because it's the investors that have caused them to be now liquidators. You know, so yeah, those are my few words. So the second meeting is duly then closed of creditor members, and then we will in future await special meetings as the claims of investors come along and be proven. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That is the meeting. Am I legible? Okay, can I be heard?
Yes, thank you, Mr.
Yes,
Master.
thank you,
on
Mr.
behalf of the
Master.
Liquidators.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The meeting is closed.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, we are adjourned. Thank you.